So, welcome to the Natural Balance Masterclass. Pretty much everybody here, I think, knows who I am. If you don't know, my name is Neal. It's very nice to meet you. And uh, what is natural balance? Like, what is this thing that you just showed up to? Well, natural balance is masterclass. It's something that you've showed up to, but you're showing up as natural balance to a place called Natural Balance Masterclass. And natural balance is a global heart-based movement that comes through the hearts of the people. And it's global because of where it's coming through. And each person has a heart. Each person has natural balance. And the place where the natural balance comes through is in the heart. And so natural balance is additionally a combination of virtual and physical ceremonies. Uh, I call this masterclass a ceremony. I look through the perspective of life being ceremonial, and it's from a perspective of seeing God in everything, and that can and is used in overpendulation when people go overly spiritual. And over spiritualization of everything can be it's like a Luciferian impulse, this over spiritualization of everything. So there's this balance of seeing God in everything while maintaining presence to what is right now, and keeping it simple, and not needing to over spiritualize it. And so natural balance is, it's your difference. And I say it's your difference because natural balance isn't the source, but it's you expressing the source in your unique fashion. And so it looks different for each person. And so that's what natural balance is. And the homework for last week was to identify a goal slash purpose, write the goal slash purpose on the paper, and then number 3, ask questions on how to take the first step or steps to accomplish this goal. Who would like to share just how your last week has been, first of all, and then second of all, like how you navigated the homework?
Oh, I'm not even muted. Hi, Neal.
Hey, welcome, Dave.
Yeah, well, this topic is the challenge, and it is what actually the purpose is the challenge. I listened to Jonathan's little thing this morning, and it was going into purpose. So that's it's a theme that keeps recurring, and here it is with you as well. So that's what we're trying to do. Right now, I have a job with a corporation, and there's a security in that they provide the marketing. I'm in sales, so entrepreneur oriented, but there's a easiness to them providing all that marketing and the leads and that kind of thing, and I just go see the people and close the deal. So very sales oriented, but at the same time realizing that I'm helping somebody else to achieve their dream and their purpose, and I'm just more or less a cog in the wheel. So it's at this point trying to develop that purpose for myself and taking that first step, which we see it as, my wife and I, Brenda, see it as a the big vision is really a community where we can share our experience with permaculture. This concept of one love, that we are all of the one same body of God, but we're also individual. We're like sparks in the fire, we're individual flames or energy coming from the main source, and that expression is unique and different. So it is a matter of expressing that, and it's always a challenge of monetization. So that's always in this world, 3D matrix. We need to exchange our ideas and values for money, so we can have shelter and pay bills and such. So it's always that challenge of taking that leap into a purpose filled life of all that kind of stuff. So to me is to be an example for when this 3D matrix we're currently in goes through the shockwave of collapse with the Western fiat money system that's going to collapse. So to be an example on the other side, like, hey, folks, this is how it's done. This is the way to go. Much in the realm of what earthquaking is doing. My question is it earthquaking itself? Do I relocate to Costa Rica? Or my idea was to have an earthquaking village, maybe here in the States even. The idea is I don't necessarily want to run away from, the United States this is where I live. This whole idea of freedom, of sovereignty, of the original founding ideas of America are valuable, and they need to be brought back to the surface. So standing as a beacon of hope, how to reconnect with traditional values, traditional family even, and being able to, kind of come back to, as you said, the balance in the land and nature, which is the source of our sustenance, both materially and spiritually, because everything is God, like you said. So that's kind of like the purpose, that the big vision. It's a matter of how, and the first step really is, it is things like this, which is engaging in the brainstorm, the idea generation to take that action. And it is just be an example right now where we are, and we've already taken those steps. We're the oddballs in the neighborhood, so to speak. So being that example, but taking it to the next level, what does it look like and how does it monetize? That's really, and we're not supposed to worry about the how. That's God's goal or purpose, is to be the how, but we have to be the why, I guess. The why is to be the example of the future, so we can live another 500 years in prosperity, in harmony with nature, with God, with each other primarily. See ourselves as brothers and sisters, not as enemies. So that's really what we got to transcend. We got to grow up, achieve those higher levels of consciousness. It's really a problem of consciousness today. So anyway, there's my share with purpose and steps.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. You got something in that you want to share?
Oh, well, Neal, I wasn't here last meeting, so I don't have any homework. But I appreciate your share, Dave. Yeah, that's eventually the direction I want to go. Live in a eco village with people like-mindedness. I that's the direction I'm trying to move in, and it does take money to make the move. I mean, it's a thing we need, and I've been working on that. Costa Rica is where I want to go. I know that. Like you say, I know why. For the kingdom, building, creating heaven on earth. I know why. And when, obviously, is something to figure out, or the how. So, yeah, I know why I'm here and what I'm to do. Not all the details, but it's coming together. It's a puzzle, you just got to get out of the future and kind of put it there and leave it alone, and let God figure all the details out. I'm used to doing that. I'm used to having a plan and waking up, and this going to get done and that's going to get done, and this. No, God says, no, we're going to do it this way. We're hooking the road every turn you go. I'm going, what is this? My heart, I know my heart is aligned with God. I know that. And I love your share, Neal. I never got on the beginning of the class. When I do show up, I usually not on time. But how you said that some people how I take it over spiritualizing things. And this is to bring you in nature's balance. It's coming from source, but it's not source. You're expressed in your own way, I guess, in spirituality. And I like to express myself more, but the community you're in, the people you're in, are not going to accept that. Your family or friends or people, I mean, they have their own belief systems and all that. I'm not putting that down on them or anything, but expressing myself fully, you either got to do it in private, or I guess still you're finding a balance to do it in front of people that will not accept it. Or I don't know. I'm struggling with that part. Does that make any? I don't know if that makes any sense. Around like-minded people,
It
yeah,
does make sense. It, like, what I'm hearing is like um only being degrees of yourself because it's not acceptable for you to be the full you around other people.
yeah,
And the only reason it wouldn't be acceptable for you to be yourself around other people is because it's not acceptable for you to be yourself around yourself fully. Like, there's still some aspect of me that I don't want to share with myself, so therefore I'm not going to share it with other people. Is that complete, Annette, or do you want to share more, or where are you at?
I think some things I can share with myself, and some things maybe I can't. I'm open to that too. There's still more there. I can, with myself, my own privacy, I can. In some parts of myself, I can share with that with people, but not fully. The part I know I can share with myself, I cannot share with others.
Yeah.
You know, they're not in that place. I know that, and you just know the relationship would, or whoever it is, not even someone I really know, just walking down the street and being fully who I feel like being in the moment. Um, it just would not be accepted, or I just don't know, Neil. Like I
Yeah.
know at the
Yeah.
village, you don't. It doesn't matter. You can be. I mean, it just happens, and it's okay. Um, I don't know. It's a journey. You just that's what it's all about, I guess. And you're there already. You're not trying to get anywhere. I'm getting that the
Yes.
journey. Yeah. So I try not to be. And I'm done blaming my others and myself. I think I'm finally there. I think that's a big one. A whole lot's happened, right? And it's not like other people haven't done something or I haven't done something, but not blaming myself and others. That's a hard spot to get, boy. In I don't want to say the old earth, or maybe it's the old earth, or the morals or ethics they go by. Somebody did something wrong somewhere, including myself on things. But to get out of that spot, you're not blaming others or yourself. And you can feel yourself kind of slipping back into that sometimes, especially when you wake up and you have another plan. You say you're not going to, and things are supposed to happen and they didn't. It's just like, Groundhog Day, that's what I'm living, you know? Yeah. And there's beauty in it, and there's disappointments to say it. There's just disappointments. This is not where I planned on being. Of course, God has his own plan, and I'm accepting of that, but I feel like I'm being held back, and I don't know. Ultimately, it's me, a part of me that's doing it. And to get to where I am right now, I know this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, but there's just more of me I know that needs to be expressed somehow.
If you were to know what that more of you is, what do you think it would be?
Um, Sharing more of my goals, my my goals and what I'm trying to create within myself, creating that peace, that heaven and earth, and not just in myself, but projecting it outwardly, you know?
Yeah. Is
So
there
I
more
got
there?
it in here
Yeah.
because there's a lot. I mean, the behaviors of the people, I see myself in them, how I used to behave. I mean, I'm not blaming, but it gets to where you want to be around others like-mindedness physically, not just these meetings, you want to be around them physically
Yeah.
and interact on a daily
Exactly.
basis. Yeah.
Yes.
And what they do and say, these jokes and these gestures and just surviving and just saying this about, just how it is, and that's fine. I've done this very same things, but I'm done with that. And I don't want to be surrounded by that every time I go out. And it's not every person, you know what I'm saying? There's beauty, and I see the God in people, and I see them struggling and um, being who the world programmed me to be. Yeah, I mean, I get all that, But when is my work done here? I mean,
Uh,
'cause I've met some amazing people. I have. I've met some amazing people here. And, but this wasn't my plan, of course, in a
where are you
gazillion
located
years.
at, man?
Walters, Oklahoma. It's about 100 miles south of Oklahoma City. I lived in Oklahoma City for years and
All right.
worked there for years. It's my
Yeah.
mama's town. And my sister now lives here. She moved back here when she retired and stuff. I'm in her house. And I was supposed to have a house two doors down. And I was in Arizona. Well, where I came here. I was in Oklahoma City, but I've been kind of traveling around a little bit. But that arrangement, I had it all arranged when I got here. And it's fine. He just kind of went ghost on me, He just kind of disappeared, didn't answer my phone calls. And I was supposed to move in around Christmas, but he just kind of disappeared. And some neighbors moved in about a week ago, and he made a deal with them, obviously. And I made friends with them. I was honest about everything. They know, of course, Nathan. They're renting or buying or whatever they're doing, but it just that wasn't God's plan. So I don't think
That's
he
so
wants
perfect.
me to be permanent here because that was going to be the spot, But
Yes.
here's my sister. Yeah.
It's so perfect in what you said because it's not God's plan. Because if, like, we think we got it all figured out, and then the moment we got it all figured out, like what we've got figured out gets fucking obliterated.
Hmm.
Uh, ask me how I know. This just happened within the last month. Uh, I've been speaking about it on my master classes, but it's even happened to even a greater degree than I've even spoken to on the master classes. Um, and when we think we know and when we think we've got it figured out and then that knowing gets obliterated, the only thing we've got left is two options. We've got doubt and we've got faith. And we might have more options than that, but that's really what I want to bring focus to. So we can go into doubt. We can start doubting ourselves. We can start doubting God. Or simultaneously in that exact moment, we could, rather than doubt, we could have faith in ourselves and we could have faith in God. And so that thing that you said about um, like not knowing, I don't know the exact words you used, but it was just like not knowing what the future looks like, or that is literally where the puzzle piece of faith clicks in. So I noticed that. Is there more you want to share on that?
Oh, thank you for that, Chad. It just kind of, I don't want to say validating, but that I'm not the only one on this path that feels that way. It's because before I was on this path, well, God kind of forced me. It was 2008 when it all started, and it's so much better now. I know that. I know I'm on the right path. But before that, living the program, living how it's supposed to be, and did all the things, I was on it. A plan was a plan. I was over perfectionist. I knew it. I thought. Well, it worked until it didn't work, but I knew what was happening that day. I made things happen.
Yeah.
Okay. It don't work that way. I mean, I've been trying to get my driver's license 3 months. It was just supposed to get renewed. That's all I was trying to do. and it never got to the address, and they can't find it. It concerns me more. I'd be berserk, like, where's my driver's license? Who got my driver's license? You know, I do it again, and it still can't get to that. I mean, a simple address or driver's license. I'm trying to get. What's God trying to tell me? I don't need identity. I don't need my driver. You know, then you go down that hole. It's not that hard. And I actually went down to the place a couple times. You know, and it's just simple things that just happen usually. You know, don't happen in the same process. You do the thing, you go down there, do the paperwork, you do this, you do this, you do that, and it happens. It don't happen like that no more. You know, there's a lesson in, like, just let it, let it go. There's a reason why, I don't know, and I'm not going to try to figure it all out like I used to. I didn't used to have to figure anything out. I mean, I just knew, or I thought I knew, but I did it perfectly. I know that. But sometimes I feel like
is there
I'm wasting my
more?
time.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go into faith. And I'm gonna go into faith from faith that I actually have capacity to go into faith. And I'm faithful because of the journey that has occurred like over the last month. And that journey has been a journey of Neal having an expectation, having assumption, and then taking those assumptions and expectations and being so set and steadfast on needing to accomplish them. And then having it that those expectations and assumptions, they didn't ever get accomplished. So then there was broken expectations, which I used to break my heart, and there were broken assumptions, uh, just broken things all over the place. And here I am looking at the pieces, like, what in the actual fuck? Like, how did this happen? Like, it was like actually planned. Like, there were things in place, there were people assisting, and now the shit's hit the fan, and I'm seeing it splatter. And in that space, I entered a space of taking full responsibility for the shit hitting the fan. And this sounds like a good thing, but I'm telling you, it was freaking hell. Because I put all the responsibility on Neal. I was like, all right, Neal's responsible for this conversation. Neal's responsible for getting these supplies. Like, Neal's responsible that the timeline, the date didn't get met. I was taking on all this responsibility, and the more responsibility I took on, the more weight I started to feel. And most of this happened right before the Remember experience. So I was feeling all this weight, and now the Remember experience, and I'm like, fuck this, I don't even want to be part of it. Like, because I was literally in hell. I was feeling really shitty, uh, and it was shitty because of taking responsibility for all the things that were happening in my life. And it just be with me. I know it sounds freaking crazy that you would feel shitty from taking responsibility, but I'm telling you, I use it to feel really shitty. And so then the Remember experience happens, and I moved through that course of that weekend, and I recognize that all this responsibility I've been taking on is divine order, it's divine design. And why did it happen this way? Is because God said so, because God orchestrated it, because God planned it. And for me to take responsibility for God's plan is where the hell came from. And because I was thinking, I was putting myself on the throne of God, operating as God, having having these timelines and whatever goals and needing them to be done. So I was being God and not having faith and trust in God to that if these things are meant to come to pass, they'll come to pass. And so I went to hell because I took God off the throne, put myself on it. And just putting it out there, it's not fun to be God. If you want to give it a go, like, go for it. Be ready to experience hell. And part of playing God was like being like super controlling and being like I don't even know, not so much manipulative, but it is manipulative. So controlling, manipulative, being attached to outcome, and all these things stem from like putting yourself on the throne of God. And what that can look like is to overpendulate to taking too much responsibility, which actually ties into the thing that I was saying earlier about over spiritualization, where we take so much responsibility, we don't even allow God navigation or space to manifest miracles in our life, because we're so controlling and so manipulative and so conversative and so filling in all the gaps with us, that where's God? And I get it. God is God's everywhere, and where we are, God is. But if we don't look at God being everywhere, and we look at only at us filling in all the gaps to make sure that the thing happens how we want it to happen, then if we do that, then that's a recipe for hell. It's a recipe for disconnection. It's a recipe for individualization. It's a recipe for feeling disconnected from other people. It's a recipe for not trusting yourself. And so in order to access faith, we need to surrender all our expectations, all our assumptions, all of our control mechanisms, all our manipulation tactics, all these things that we do. God requires us to surrender those, so that after we've surrendered those, we can receive God and allow faith to be nurtured and culminated and grown within us. And faith is a muscle. So faith, we don't just get it and then we have it. We exercise it. And faith is the currency of heaven and manifestation. So and it is the currency of the manifestation of heaven. And assumptions we form when we have a lack of clarity about the past or the future. And assumptions are directly linked to doubt, because and they're related to doubt, but even more so to lack of clarity, because the doubt is more so uncertainty. And so the assumptions are uncertainty of the past or the future, which creates lack of clarity. So we make an assumption about the future because we're like, hey, based on my past experience, I can assume that the sun's going to rise tomorrow. I don't know that. Tomorrow doesn't exist. It's not here yet. But I'm assuming that the sun's going to rise, but I have lack of clarity because it's actually not present right now. And so assumptions can be detrimental when we assume things and then take an action from our assumptions. And they can be detrimental, and they can be highly transformational. And assumptions, I think, are directly correlated to manifestation. And manifestation of what? Manifestation of what you're assuming. Like literally, I can assume that how this conversation is going to end is with Neal feeling really inspired, but I don't know that, but I can assume that. And then from that assumption, I can take action to see if that actually is going to play out. Now, imagine if I were to assume that this conversation ends with Neal feeling like worthless and dumb, and And then I would take the actions from that assumption and then see that play out and see that open up. And so I think we use assumptions of the future and of the past, but here in this case, I'm specifically speaking about using assumptions for the future, where we're using them to create like a simulated reality inside our brain that we then walk to and we walk into it in physical reality. And it might look like something like, so there's this conversation or there's this like interaction that I know I'm going to be having tomorrow. All right. So there's this interaction for sure happening. I'm going to assume that during and after this interaction, the people that are engaging in this conversation, myself included, will be inspired and joyful during and after the conversation. And I can use assumption to manifest potential in life. And now there's another piece. So we can do that. And in using assumptions as manifestation, we're also playing God. So how to not play God and use this is you create the assumption, you set the intention, and I could even call the assumption an expectation, which I could also call the assumption a goal that's projected outwards. So you project it outwards into the future as a potential for something occurring. And so the other piece is, so when you're creating the assumption, you're playing God because you're creating a scenario of what it's going to look like. But then how to allow God space, how to allow God navigation. It's not even that you're allowing it, you're just getting yourself out of the way of and allowing him to move. And how you do that is by surrendering the assumption and surrendering the expectation. So you set it, you've now assumed it, you now have the expectation, but then you release it and say, not my will, but thine be done. And if God would have this assumption or expectation come to fruition, that's exactly what's going to happen. And if he wouldn't have it come into fruition, then obviously that's not going to happen. And so the final piece here is to, once the assumption's set, once the expectation's set, that's when you surrender it and say, this is what I intend, but not my will, but God's be done here on earth as it is in heaven. And now I allow God to move in my life. I allow myself to be moved by God, and I have faith that I'm being moved and my life is being orchestrated by God now, while letting go of the assumption I already set. So that's it for right now with faith, and I want to hear what you heard and what I shared in that.
Oh, it's just us, isn't it? My my mic's on. My sister is in the backyard. Can you hear her? She's kind of. You okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
volume's great.
Okay. I heard don't make assumptions. Have an intention. Kind of have an intention, and then detach from it, and don't assume it's going to turn out that way. Just leave it to God and see what He does with that intention. Seeing if your intention is aligned with His, and don't assume it's going to turn out. So that's where it gets tricky. That's where it gets. Yeah, that's where it gets tricky. Because you want to imagine it, but don't stay in the future. Just imagine like it's happening now. I imagine things that are happening now, not necessarily the future. But I get that sensation. I think about heaven on earth, and that's happening now in a community I'm in. That's happening now, and plenty of abundance, and I think about that. So I'm imagining that. So my intention, that's intention. But then, you're laying down, then at some point you got to look and see what you got to do tomorrow. I got this appointment, this phone call. You got to line your day, right? I mean, and I
Enter
like I had a
faith.
phone call today, and I didn't assume anything really because this is an ongoing situation, and yeah, it didn't turn out like I was hoping, imagining. I've had that moment, imagining this phone call going to be it. I put it out there and left alone, and today it happened. It happened, not like I imagined it. Was that assuming? Intention? Imagining it? Gibberish? I mean, those words just all kind of get combobulated a little bit. I don't think I'm assuming. I'm not really assuming anything anymore, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the
Uh,
only person who knows if you're assuming is you, because assuming is it's like an energy, and like we can pick up on the energy of it, but really the only person who knows if you're assuming is you. And two people can say the exact same thing, and one person can be assuming, and the other person can be just like discerning reality. So, um, yeah, the only person who knows if you are assuming is you. And assumptions aren't a bad thing. It's just not being had by assumptions and having assumptions. So using assumptions rather than being used by them.
I'm back. I'm sorry. Yeah, I hear you. You know,
Is
so
there more? Or
yeah, assuming this old expression, assuming makes the ass out of you and me. That's the old expression. Have you heard of it?
I haven't heard of it, but I love it.
Oh, see, it's an old expression. Uh, assuming makes the ass out of you and me. Yeah, and sometimes you do assume, but after all that's happened, it's like I've gotten away from that. It's just I don't know.
Yeah.
I imagine things and just take time to imagine things, meditation or just breathing and I always go back, all is well in this moment, it's all happening for the highest good, I'm safe and protected. I do that all day long. It's just getting back to that space, because my life is nothing like it used to be, nothing. It's just totally contrast. And this is my life. This is how it's supposed to be or wouldn't be happening. You know? I think it's natural that you just want the next step. You want more. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. Like it's time to go. I feel like it's time to go. And I don't like that either. I don't like saying that.
Mm-hmm.
But I am
Sometime? Okay.
ready for something.
Yeah.
Ready for supper time? Ready to eat supper?
Yeah, that came through. Yeah.
Is there more, or is that complete?
That's complete. Thank you.
You're welcome. Dave, I don't know how long you've been here, but I noticed you dropped off and then joined again. But I'm curious if you got any insight on faith and trust and assumptions, and specifically what you heard and how you see that in your life.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think I got a connectivity issue. Although, my Wi-Fi looks perfect. Anyway, well, yeah, it was cut out. You made a comment about playing God, and then it cut out. So I'm on the assumption, and what I was thinking, I've been listening to a lot of Neville Goddard. You know him at all?
I do.
He was a seer and a spiritual visionary back in the mid-century in New York City, and he did a lot of traveling. Anyway, he's all about faith the feeling, and also assumption. And his law
Maybe turn off his camera.
of assumption,
Dave, your
his
camera,
assumption,
your,
he takes it beyond the
Dave,
law.
your vocals being
And then
affected.
in the assumption, it is.
There
Is
you
it better
go.
now? I must have a
Yeah,
bad
much
connection
better.
here.
Okay.
I'm on my cell phone. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah,
So anyway, yeah. So the assumption, the law of assumption, is a step up from the law of attraction, and that you are assuming the end as it exists in your heart in the now. So you're taking the future event, and you are seeing that in the present. You're bringing it to the present because God works in the present. And in order for you to have something in the future, you have to see it in the present. And then that projects forward. You mentioned what steps to take. Well, that's where the inspiration comes. When you assume the state fulfilled that you want to be in, you want to be there. So that we talked about that this morning. Be is first, and then do comes to you through the steps, guided by the intuition, by God, as you're moving forward. So you're assuming, like for instance, go back to what I said earlier about a community. I see it in my eyes. I see, and that was also a reason to come to the Earth Awakening Village to witness it with my eyes. So I see it in the flesh there, but I've also seen it on my own. So I see myself in another community, gathering people together, gathering this energy and this knowledge and wisdom of old and young coming together to live a truly joyous life together, that is in union with the spirit and in community with each other. So I see that. And then in that also, I wrote down on my piece of paper here, when you said play God, that what is the name of God? The name of God is I am. So when you play God, you state I am that, and that is what you claim in the future. Your assumption is I am that, and then the second part of that phrase is that I am. So you're taking the subjective I am that into the objective, which is that I am, because that I am is the assumption fulfilled as a reality. It's in your future, but you're existing or you're experiencing it now. So I am that is the subjective claim of your state in the future, which is that I am, and that is God in action. The I am that is the God. That I am is you, the Christ consciousness coming to you in creating the action to be that you claim. That is the assumption, that claim, that is I am that in the now, and that I am will flow. And that's the latency. We see that in when you plant the seed. There's a latency between the time the seed is planted to the fruit being grown on the plant. A tomato, for instance, it takes about 90 days to get the tomato out of that seed. But you have many tomatoes, so the abundance is flowing from that planting of that seed, that assumption made. I'm going to be fulfilled with many tomatoes. And sure enough, by planting that seed, I am that harvest of tomatoes. That I am is a bushelful of tomatoes, as an example in the plant world.
yeah.
So we can claim what we want in the future, and that what it is will then come to you. And you do have to take that first step. And this is, part of you got to get out of your own way. You got to step forward, even if it seems stupid or silly. It's like Jonathan was talking this morning. I had to get $10,000. I didn't have $10,000. Well, but I'm resourceful. So you look into your resourceful bag and you pull out something, or you make a step forward, and then that will lead you to the next. Because you're not supposed to know how. You just don't need to know why. And that is the purpose and the what. The how will come to you. By assumption, you're aligning your energy with God in full faith. Now that's where the faith comes in. The assumption is full faith.
More. Wait a minute.
Oh, I hear the voice there.
I think the
So,
assumption is coming
that's
from
Oh,
I think the assumption is coming from lack of clarity about the past and the future. So I don't see faith playing into the assumption. unless it's an aligned divine assumption, which is what I think you're pointing at. Are you there, Dave?
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we talked earlier about between two individuals is the assumption between you and God.
Yeah.
And so that assumption is an ass, and neither are you. And that comes in is that you're planting that seed with faith, with that assumption that God will provide the result that you want. But it has to be in line with your purpose too, not just a random, I want a Maserati, because I like to drive fast cars. That may come to you down the way, but it's because you want to do something with your life that will yield you a fast car as a reward. You may bring riches to many through your inspiration and your skill, and that will then yield you a monetary reward, which you can buy any damn car you want.
Yeah. Is there more there, Dave, or is that?
I'll give you an example, okay?
Complete?
Well, I was going to say, I have an observation.
Yeah.
And that it's a witness seeing Earthwaking Village. Jonathan England, he's built this little community over there, and we went up. This is back in November. Went up to Grace 2 to observe and check it out and everything. And I realized Jonathan rolls up in this beautiful Toyota pickup truck with the snorkel on it and everything. I'm like, damn, I want that truck. and here's Jonathan manifesting it. So he's an example of the badass vehicle. But it's because of his mission of, sharing love and God, to as many people as possible, that he's able to, drive this beautiful pickup truck that can go through the back roads and the water crossings in Costa Rica. That's what you need. That Hilux Toyota. So that's an example of a manifest by going for the purpose.
Yeah. All right. So
my observation.
Yeah, that's a perfect example
of that in action.
Yeah. It's the analogy of like googly eyeing God and having a treat on your nose and getting to the point where you're just googly eyeing God so much that all of a sudden you notice the treats in your mouth and now you're chewing on it, but you don't even care about the treat anymore. You're just like so focused on purpose that you manifest things that are assisting you on purpose. Yeah, perfect analogy.
Correct. The way I see it.
I want to talk homework. So I would love to have it be the same as last week, and this week actually do the homework. And that was intended. I don't know if you felt that, but that was the homework is to identify a goal or a purpose. So there's 3 steps, and number 1 is to identify a goal or a purpose. Number 2 is write the goal and / purpose onto paper. And then number 3, ask questions on how to take the first steps to accomplish this goal that you wrote.
Gosh. Romeo, no.
Is that clear?
Lay down.
Neal, number 1 again,
No,
the first word it's not coming clear for some reason. What was the first word on the first instruction?
Yeah. So number 1, identify a goal or purpose.
Okay.
Lay down.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And with this goal and purpose, the questions, once we start to actually ask ourselves, all right, how am I gonna So my goal is to live in community and to live in a village, in an earthwaking village. So how am I actually going to accomplish that? And the how am I going to accomplish that is one of the questions. And then another question is, well, what do I need to do first? And then another question might be like, well, an answer to the question, what do I need to do first, potentially might be like, well, I've got a lot of stuff, so I need to get rid of some stuff. Well, and then another question might be, well, what do I do with all this stuff? But just keeping asking the questions, and through the asking of the questions, answers will start to become clear and illuminated. And from those answers, we can then find and design an action step. But the action step is coming from the asking of the questions. So this last part of the homework, when you're asking the questions on a step to accomplish your goal, this is so huge. This is one of the most profound things that I've discovered in my own life, is to ask questions to myself, to use them to direct my focus. Are you clear on the homework, Dave, or do you got any questions or comments you want to speak to?
Well, yeah, I just wrote it down. Identify a goal and purpose. Write it down. Ask questions about how to accomplish or what to do, what steps, what to initiate. In the leap, if you will, to achieve that goal. Right?
Yep, that's it exactly. So with that, I've been going overtime with these things, but today we're right on time, 5 minutes early. So I'm gonna end this class. I love you. Thank you for being here. If you're online, touch that subscribe button. You'd be watching it on YouTube if you're online. So yeah, touch that subscribe. Thank you and good night.
Good night. Thank you,
Good night.
Neal. Good
Yep.
night, Dave.